Alright guys, we have to talk about the most recent Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, my overall grade, what I thought was good, what I thought was bad, and what I think Nintendo will do in the future. So let's go ahead and jump right into what I thought was good about it, then we'll get into what I thought was not so good. So my favorite announcement of the show by far was Monster Hunter Stories 3. That was a very big surprise because I didn't think they would do anything else with Monster Hunter Stories this quick into the life of the Nintendo Switch 2. So the fact that it's actually coming out, it's multi-platform, it's Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and the Nintendo Switch 2. But of course, having it on the Switch 2 anywhere that you want is going to be really good. It looks graphically a lot better than Monster Hunter Stories 1 on the Nintendo Switch 1, so it definitely looks good. Looks like it's going to play good. It's got the story, it's got all the different stuff that you would want in a Monster Hunter Stories game. You can just tell that it's going to be really cool. I think they're going to do the weird thing that they did with Monster Hunter Stories 2, where they really didn't show the gameplay until like right before the game was about to come out, and I had some people kind of worried that the gameplay was wrong or there was something with it, but no, the gameplay is going to be there. They just kind of showed like the story and all that, because it's called Monster Hunter Stories, so the story is a big focus with it. And if you've played Monster Hunter Stories 1 or 2, you kind of know what to expect when it comes to the combat as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do now that they're on much more powerful systems. They've pretty much moved their way up, going from the Nintendo 3DS initially, then to Nintendo Switch, and now with Switch 2, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, all day and date in 2026. So that was by far my favorite announcement and game of the show. The next little cool, super surprise thing that we got that I felt was good from the show was the Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. And it took me a while. I had to make sure that I wrote down that name, but that was actually a really cool surprise announcement. I thought that the game looked really good. There is a demo that I'm going to check out. People are already saying that the demo is really good, because at first I thought this game was a Octopath Traveler 3, because I didn't notice the characters. I was like, oh, it's Octopath 3. It's going to be something completely different. But then it's like, no, it's not Octopath, because you don't see the typical turn-based RPG. You don't see the typical different types of party members. You have a fairy that's going around with you and a single adventurer, and it's an action RPG. So I was like, whoa, this is something completely different at this point. And yeah, that's exactly what it was. And from what I've seen, it looks like a mix of like Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore, also The Legend of Zelda, like Link to the Past, or the original Legend of Zelda. It's kind of a mix of all of those together, and it looks really cool. They're going to be doing the same thing that they did with the original Octopath Traveler, which is put out a demo, which is available right now for you to go check out on Nintendo Switch 2, and then get feedback from that to improve the game. And that was one of the big things that they did with Octopath Traveler that made it a lot better from that initial prologue demo to the final release when it came out. So I'm very much going to go in there, check out the game, give them feedback, and hopefully it's really, really good when it drops, and it's even better than what we're playing right now. But so far, so good when it comes to what people have been saying about the Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, HD 2D, not dead by any means. Now, when it comes to the other games that I will be playing, I wanted to go over a number of those, and that's going to be Octopath Traveler 0. That was the bookend 2 games that they announced at the end of it. So one more thing, but 2 more things. So Octopath Traveler 0, which looks really good. Octopath Traveler, but it looks like it's a prequel, but with your own character creator and town building elements. So it's not going to be the same as Octopath Traveler 1 and Octopath Traveler 2, and it does seem like there's going to be ways to link up with other Octopath Traveler games, because those characters from the other games are going to be in there some way. So it looks pretty crazy overall when it comes to what you're going to be able to do in this game. And thankfully, we can move past the crusty 30 FPS on the Nintendo Switch 1, even though the game is coming to Nintendo Switch 1. But if you're getting it on Nintendo Switch 2 or Xbox or PlayStation, right there, day and date, you're going to be able to get it at 60 FPS. It's going to look and run great on Nintendo's platform. So I'm actually really excited about Octopath Traveler 0 and seeing what they're going to do with that formula when it comes to the turn-based RPG, the Brave and Default system that they essentially have in there, the light Brave and Default system, and then kind of go from there and add in new elements. So very exciting with that game. Next up is Persona 3 Reload. This is a game that I felt could show up at the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, and it did. A couple different things here, though. Obviously, we have the looming game key card threat of a lot of different games that people were upset about, which I will talk about in just a bit. But even after that, I still just want to be able to play Persona 3 Reload, because I initially played this game not on the PlayStation 5, not on the Xbox Series, but on the PC. And I put a number of hours into it on my Steam Deck and then also on my regular PC. But the problem that I had was that anytime that I would play the game on my Steam Deck, the settings are different than my PC. My PC is way more powerful, so I would like to obviously not play them at the same settings because it messes things up, but there wasn't any way to save it. So whenever I would play on my PC and then transfer it over to my Steam Deck, it would still have my PC settings and run terrible. And then whenever I would play it on my Steam Deck and then transfer my save over when it comes like to the cloud save on my PC, it might mess up the settings again. And I'm pretty sure there was some way to make that better, but I got so frustrated with that, I just said skip it. I will wait for the eventual Nintendo Switch 2 edition of this game or whatever. And I'm glad that it's finally coming out now at this point. That's going to be this year, so I'm going to be picking that up. I'll have the release date up for you guys. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's October. So also, yeah, Octopath Traveler 0, that's also this year as well. So cool RPGs for this year. But yeah, with Persona 3, thought about buying it on PS5, but I'm like, man, I don't want to be tethered to my TV or have to use the PlayStation Portal in order to play it, because Persona is a pretty cool, fun, chill type of game that you want to just kind of relax and play. And I think that having it portable is always a good bet for Persona. So I'm absolutely going to pick it up, although I was kind of upset that there wasn't the DLC included in there. It would have been nice considering that this is a year-old plus port. It would have been cool if they would have added in that DLC there, but they did not add that in, so that's unfortunate. And for the last game that I was actually really excited about, it was Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. And this game, we don't have a set release date. They're still saying this winter, so this winter could start in technically November-ish or so late to December, or even go to early January or so, or February. So I'm thinking, since they did show it off again at this point and are just kind of giving us a bit more, I'm thinking that it is going to be released this year. I think it's going to be late this year, and even if it's not, if it's early next year, that's fine. I'm still looking forward to the game. When it's done, it's done. I'm going to play the game, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to enjoy it, and it's going to run and look a lot better than it did on the Nintendo Switch 1 with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and of course even better than what we got with Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition and the original Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U. So I'm just looking forward to playing another Hyrule Warriors game, but them actually having some different things in here. Based off of what they've shown, it looks like there's going to be certain times where they really kind of go over story with you walking and listening and kind of taking in the scenery and stuff. So I felt that was a little bit different for the Warriors brand or that style, but the action looks like it's going to be just as intense and fierce as ever. The different heroes that you can use in the game look like it's going to be really fun. Looks like there's going to be a lot of tag team and double type of attacks that you can do, so you can link up with different party members. So I'm actually really enjoying what they're doing here with Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, from the graphics to the story and the setting. I think it's actually going to be something pretty substantial overall, and I don't think it's going to be kind of like a, oh, what if type of thing like they did with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And just real quick, editor OJ stepping in here, Nintendo did put up a post on Twitter talking more about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, saying this: experience the imprisoning war that ultimately led to the events of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, the latest canonical tale from Hyrule's distant past, coming to Nintendo Switch 2 this winter. So yes, it is going to be canon. It is going to make sure that it's following the real events of actually what happened overall. So that's definitely a good thing and a step above what they were kind of alluding to a bit with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity before that drop, but they're making sure people know about this. So I think it's going to be a bit different this time around, so I'm looking forward to playing those. Now, there were some other things that were pretty good, stuff like Romancing Saga 2, that getting an update on the Nintendo Switch. That's really good. It's getting an update to where it runs and looks better on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that it was pretty cool that Apex Legends, that got an update, or it's getting an update to where it runs and looks better, because there was a blur filter on the Nintendo Switch 1 version of the game, so that's awesome as well. So those were all the things that I thought that were good in there, and there was some other stuff that I'm probably not putting up. I'll put that up if I remember something after the fact that I've made this video. But yeah, that's the good stuff. But the bad stuff, I can completely understand why some people felt that this Direct was one of the worst ones that we've had when it comes to a Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, or just not good at all. A lot of times people tend to just give Directs and kind of put them all together like they're the same thing, but they're definitely separate. When it comes to a Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, a Nintendo World Indie Showcase, or even a real big Nintendo Direct, like where they have their own first-party games. But even so, even still, it still necessarily wasn't a great show. There was really heavy on the RPGs. I love me some RPGs, but just for in terms of being objective, yeah, there was a lot of RPGs there. There wasn't a ton of updates on a lot of games that we got beforehand. Some of the bigger third-party games, like where is Final Fantasy VII Remake? Need an update on that. How about Elden Ring? no update on that game either. People were talking about where is Silksong and all of that. So there were definitely missing some updates and missing some of the other big third-party games that some of the predictions were going out there. Now, you might have to blame yourself for going into that with those predictions or those expectations, but at the same time, you expect there to be maybe a few more of those big games out there. Now, this does lead to one thing overall that I feel is absolutely going to happen now at this point. And I think that there is going to be a massive or a big Nintendo Direct that is going to be dropping sometime in September at this point. I think Nintendo's going to go through one more month here. We're pretty much in August. Get through that month, get the games, do whatever the case is, have people buy it for Donkey Kong and for Mario Kart and all of that. And then once September hits, there is going to be another big Nintendo Direct where they do give some more release dates for the final portion of the year, because those games are still coming out in 2025, and it does seem like some people had some expectations or got some information about certain games that were going to be at this show but were not at this show. So I'm guessing that they wanted to put those for the September Nintendo Direct, and that one will probably be the big one. That's going to be a bit more exciting, can have a bit more different stuff out there, and I think it might be a little bit more into the generation before any of these are even good. Nintendo doesn't have these a lot, but when they do, a lot of people actually don't like them too much. We did get a pretty good one back in 2022. That was when they had Persona 3, Persona 4, and Persona 5 Royal, in addition to Nier Automata as well, and some other games. But I think it's going to take a little bit before we get to that level at this point, and probably where we're going to get the big stuff like Resident Evil 4 or like more of Elden Ring or more of some of these other games is going to be at the Nintendo Directs, the big Nintendo Directs, where most of those are also third-party games as well, but Nintendo also has their big first-party games that they want to show off as well. Now, more stuff with the bad. I know people really dislike game key cards online, and yes, this show was obviously heavy on the game key cards overall, and it's one of those things to me where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I understand people's frustration with them. I'd rather have the regular physical on cart as well. I'm not a huge fan of game key cards, although there are some of these games that I probably will be buying if it's on a game key card. Like, so for example, like the Adventures of Elliot, yeah, like I'm gonna pick that up on a game key card for Switch 2, or even Persona 3 Reload. I might do that, or just do digital, depending on how, you know, Atlas does it. Maybe I'll get a review code, I'm not really sure, but either way. But I can understand for people that are upset about that as well. When it comes down to it. Although I do see some people putting out some crazy misinformation saying that you need to be connected online at all times in order to play game key cards. You don't. You just need to connect one time to download the game, and then after that, it's not tied to your account, or it's not tied to online. You can just play it whenever you want. You can let somebody else borrow it and they can play too. So just keep that in mind as well. But I understand still, though, not wanting to have to use the internet in terms of having to download. And I'm the same way. I like real, actual, physical. I'm definitely going to be picking up some that I really want in terms of some of the games, just because I want to play Persona. I want to play the Adventures of Elliot when it comes down to it. And I kind of want to have the box art and all that, even though it's not the full cartridge on the box. I still want to be able to have like the box to put it up on my shelf and everything. So overall, what's my score for this event? I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. I thought that it was just passable, so that's a D. So it's just enough overall to kind of say, okay, it was somewhat satisfactory in terms of what I like to play. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Persona 3 Reload, Octopath Traveler, The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, and Monster Stories 3. But if you guys notice, pretty much all of those are RPGs for the most part, with Age of Imprisonment being like heavy on the action, but definitely RPG elements, a lot of RPG elements. So yeah, the variety necessarily wasn't completely there when it comes down to it, but there were some pretty good announcements. But I can understand if people gave it way lower, or if it was an F, or it was whatever. But yeah, to me, it was kind of like a D minus. It was a 6 out of 10. Was not great, was not good. It was just okay, the meh-ish mid. And then there was a number of games that I thought that were really good, that I know that I'm going to play the heck out of overall, which is like Monster Stories 3, The Adventures of Elliot, Octopath Traveler, Persona 3, Hyrule Warriors. I'm going to play all these games a lot overall. So that's the reason why, to me, it just pushed it over satisfactory. Not quite failing, but right there, almost failing, almost there. But if we got a release date for Age of Imprisonment and maybe 1 or 2 more bigger games, I think that could have pushed it up to maybe a 7 or 7.5. But yeah, after kind of looking at it and evaluating and looking through all the release dates and what we got versus what we didn't and everything, I'm going to go ahead and go with a 6 out of 10 or D. But that's just my score. Whatever score you guys give, that's fine too. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on what score it should have or it shouldn't have. when I did my live stream, people were talking about a variety of different things, saying it's a 2 out of 10, it's a 3 out of 10, it's a 7 out of 10, it's an 8 out of 10, it's a 9 out of 10. People were saying all sorts of different type of scores. So everyone's allowed to have their own opinion on that. What was your favorite game of the show, a cool surprise, and what you'll be playing overall? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.